Bill Oram, the Lakers beat writer for The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. And, you know, Bill, it's very fortunate that we were able to get you to appear on this show. I don't usually go through this with the guest about how I book the guests, but I saw 3 of your numbers, and I went for the middle one, and I'm glad that it worked out. So what's with that quote from last night, Bill, having been around LeBron as much as you have? Give me that
Well, I have a cynical side, which I hesitate to share on a global platform like this. But what the hell?
No, please do, Bill.
Well, I mean, LeBron said 2 things last night. One was that when he got the ball, the first thing he did was check out the shot clock, and the second thing he did was realize that he saw 3 rims and picked the one in the middle. And the cynical side is like, well, how could he read the shot clock if he saw 3 baskets? But
wouldn't there be 3 shot clocks, right? Wouldn't there be 3 shots?
Maybe he saw it said 0.9 3 different times, and that expressed the urgency to him. LeBron was hurting. Where we sit at Staples Center was right next to where he went down after that foul by Draymond, and that was a pretty gruesome play. And I wasn't sure, actually, frankly, until after the game what on him was hurting, because he landed on his backside. His leg kind of landed awkwardly, and it looked like he might have hit his head on his way down. And so when he's on the ground, he was touching his head, he was touching his face. Later realized, he was checking for blood, and he was blinking to try to, see what his vision was like. I didn't know if he might have a concussion. It was a pretty gruesome play, and it wasn't, malintent by Draymond. It was a hard foul to keep LeBron from scoring in a 1-point game. But, I believe LeBron. Like, LeBron's eye post-game, if you saw any of his post-game interviews, it was drooping. It looked like he'd taken a punch.
Yep.
So he was hurting. But it just adds to the myth and sort of legacy of LeBron James that, I don't know how many times over the course of the regular season we see him shoot it from there, or see him shoot a step back from 35 and go off the front iron, and you kind of roll your eyes and say, LeBron, like, not a good shot. It's late in the game. There's 40 seconds left. Lakers are down 2, and that's the shot he comes up with. And you're kind of like, come on, LeBron, like, get to the basket. But then in that moment, he uncorked that one. And again, we're on that baseline watching the ball head right to the basket. I was like, that's going in. And it was just an unbelievable moment. And again, when you talk about the Lakers being defending champions, but not really playing like it this season, and not really having that identity or that kind of moment to hang their hat on that says, you are the Lakers, you have LeBron, you are defending champions, have that swagger. I feel like that moment sort of became that, where the Lakers could sort of use that as their reset to say, we are here and we're ready for this playoff run.
Yeah, I don't doubt at all that I'm sure Draymond got him in the eye. There's no question. There was no question in my mind. It was just, and I haven't also been hit by somebody like Draymond Green in my entire life. I have never been contacted by anybody that size, let alone having somebody with that hand size take one of their fingers and, hit me in the eye. And I did, as I'm sitting there, think that he was, while the concept of common foul or flagrant foul was under the hood, to use the NFL phrase of replay, that he might have been, making sure that there was everyone was even Van Gundy was saying in the broadcast, he's making sure everybody sees how hurt he is, and that might actually gain the shots and possession, which would have been so huge at the time. It's just him making that shot and then looking at Steph and pointing the eye, kind of like, I can't even see. You know what I mean? Like it was. There's some athletes who will talk about it, and then there are other athletes who'll be like, yeah, what are you talking about? My eyes, I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, and LeBron is the former, not the latter, and that's just part and parcel of number 23. There's no question about it.
Well, he also makes it very clear that he feels, disrespected. When he feels disrespected, he's not afraid to say it. And, you go back to when the Lakers won the championship in the bubble, that was the first thing he said. This organization wants their respect. Jeannie Buss wants their respect. Rob Pelinka wants his respect. And I want my damn respect, too. And you sit there and you're like, you're LeBron James. You've got 4 MVPs, 4 championships. You are, in the conversation for the greatest of all time. Like, who doesn't respect LeBron James?
Skip Bayless.
But then at the same time, like, there are plenty of times that we all sit there and think, well, is LeBron at the end of the road? Is LeBron going to be able to do this?
Right.
There is a lot of LeBron skepticism in the world. And I do feel like, moments like that, he wants to make sure that you appreciate what he's doing, because he is, I mean, it goes without saying, but he is an all-time great who summons these, unreal performances on a consistent basis, and especially, when the season is on the line and matters most. I mean, if that shot doesn't go down last night, we might be talking about a completely different scenario for the Lakers. The Lakers end up with their most favorable playoff path that they could have out of this sort of range they're in. And you can sort of, do some mental gymnastics, and they're in the finals pretty easily. They lose last night and have to play for the 8th seed. That road gets a lot more treacherous.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.